to On the Move. This week, I'm very happy to host journalist Giorgos Christides, a Greece-based reporter for weekly news magazine Der Spiegel since 2012. And I just recently arrived in Lesbos, so we are all on board in Greece at the moment. In this program, I usually talk about the human rights violations at the external borders of the EU, particularly at the borderlands of Greece and Turkey. And today we're going to talk about a new reporting that exposes how Greek police are exploiting refugees to engage illegal pushbacks of the other would-be asylum seekers at the EU's external borders. With witness testimonies, satellite images, and other documents that provide evidence how these officials are taking advantage of people seeking protection. So I have, again, for our audiences, we have Giorgos here. Giorgos, welcome. Thank you very much for participating in the program.
It's a great pleasure. I'm a big fan of your program. Always watch it, and I hope I can live up to the your previous debates with very worthy colleagues that I have seen. Yeah.
Thank you. No, it's been a long time. I've been hoping to host you in this program, so it's very exciting for me to have you. And you don't need a huge introduction. Everybody knows, especially those who work on migration on external borders, everybody knows who you are. So without taking too much time, I want to start to talk about the reporting. But first, I want to start in general, because for a long time, actually, you've been working on the pushbacks, both on the land borders and the sea borders. And so for our audiences, could you first provide us with a general framework of the pushbacks, of the situation at the land borders between Greece and Turkey? Because recently we hear that the Greek authorities have invented a new terminology, the so-called push forwards.
Right.
So at this point, I think for audiences who are interested in the subject matter, it is really important to initially provide a framework about what's happening on the Greek side of the Greek-Turkish borders.
Right. All right. So first things first. People really need to understand a very simple fact that is always lost in public debate, at least in Greece. So, if there is someone who needs protection and is currently in Turkey, like a Syrian refugee, an Afghan refugee, or anyone else, has very little to non-existent way to find a legal avenue to reach Europe, right? So let's take this as a starting point, correct? So for this person to be able to go to Europe and ask for this protection, which according to a multitude of laws that I'm not gonna now enumerate and bore everyone to death, but so they have this right to go to a different jurisdiction and ask for this kind of protection. So, reasonably speaking, for someone to go from Turkey to Greece and ask for this protection, there are two routes. One is by sea, the other is by land through the Avros river border in the north, right? So at this moment, it is literally impossible for anyone wishing to do this to do it in a kind of legal way. Even Greek ministers on Twitter, they will say, why don't they go to the Izmir consulate or the Ankara embassy and ask for asylum if they're real refugees? Which goes to show how ignorant people are in general. So if ministers are ignorant, then you can imagine the general public how ignorant it is. You know, so a first response of mine on a Twitter spot I had the other day was like, who on their right mind would pay a fortune to smugglers, risk their lives, risk being confronted with Greek Coast Guard and do whatever else if they could just take a walk outside the Turkish embassy in Greece, the Greek embassy in Turkey, and say, "Hello, guys, I'm from Afghanistan. I would like to ask for asylum in Greece. Could you please take me?" "Yeah, sure, sir. Please go on." but we'll give you first, a business flight back to Athens. So the first thing to understand is that Turkey has a huge number of refugees now at its territory. These refugees are increasingly cracked down for reasons that you, of course, know better than I do. And there's always going to be people trying to leave Turkey and come to Greece. So at the moment, these are the two ways that they can come. What they encounter when they try to do this is in the sea border, they will encounter either the Greek Coast Guard, which is under orders to prevent any people from crossing into the Greek waters, or in the land borders, police and military and other units who say don't let anyone come in. This is official Greek policy. And even after they manage to cross to Greece or to Greek territory, we have time and time and time again and again and again. I think it's us at Spiegel and many other international media and organizations showed that they are picked up from Greek territory and then sent back to Turkey. So this is like, in my opinion, the main policy directive from the Greek government is nobody enters illegally into the country. And this, of course, means that when you're talking about flimsy dinghies in the Aegean or those flingy whatever like boats in Avros, that people are risking their lives every single day trying to reach Europe. This is the situation we are currently in. Greece, of course, has managed to minimize migration because of this very tough policy, but the human cost is quite high.
Exactly. Here, I think we might need to maybe explain how Greek government's definition of stopping illegal migration, which irregular migration, right, for all those people whom you, as you well explained, cannot have access to asylum outside the EU territories, access to seek asylum at least. So, what are the techniques in general, including, we say pushback, they say push forward. Right. What is the practice that we see very, we see pushbacks since 2013, because I remember when I was first started to be involved in migration issues, which was in 2013, and Amnesty International had this campaign to stop the pushbacks. So the pushbacks are not new, but they seem to be much more intrusive, invasive, and violent than ever before. And it is relatively the same for Avros River. So what has changed over time? And what is this practice that we call pushback?
Right. Okay. So first of all, the Greek government's defense is twofold, if I may. The first one is that Turkey signed a deal with the EU in 2016 in which it promised that it would stop people from coming to Europe in exchange, for financial aid, visa liberalization, and all that. So Greece believes that whenever a single dinghy leaves the Turkish coast, is like a violation of this obligation that Turkey undertook back then, right? So that's number one. This is what they mean by push forward. In a more blatant case of push forward, they also, of course, mean the events in March 2020, when indeed it was documented also by Spiegel that Turkish authorities, by following President Erdogan's a declaration that the border would be open, either actively facilitated or at the very least did not stop thousands of people from gathering to the land border in Avros and trying to get in. So when Greece, and finally, Greece refers to push forwards as incidents when the Turkish Coast Guard knows about people who are trying to cross and does nothing to stop them, if not actively facilitating their arrival. So this is what the Greek defense in terms of what's happening in the Aegean and Avros is all about. Now, when it comes to pushbacks, there are I told you many ways that this can happen. So it can range from actually seeing a boat coming across from the Turkish coast or from Avros and doing everything that Greece can to prevent them from entering Greek territory, which is against controversial, but not so controversial as usual. Then the most usual kind of thing is that people actually do make it to Greek territory, which would immediately mean that the Greek authorities are under an obligation to perform like a registration and ask people, why are you in Greece, why are you in trouble, and stuff like that. This does not happen, and in the most egregious cases, there are people even with passports or temporary residence permits deep in the mainland, who somehow find themselves back in what I like to call like kidnaps, and then brought back to the Turkey side and pushed back. Or fourth, and the fourth dimension that is rarely mentioned is that, according to what I know, there are directions to the Greek authorities that if migrants and asylum seekers and refugees try to leave Greece, then we should kind of turn a blind eye and let people just go, because then it becomes someone else's problem, which has its own problems. It's not our subject now, but this is like what the Greek response to it is. So with the pushbacks, I think it's not, everybody will tell you, it's not a legal term or whatever, but I mean, it's very clear that if you talk to any kind of respectable law scholar, European Commission, sorry, dignitary, or anyone who knows what they're talking about, they will tell you, like, I don't know, like a yellow book kind of list of laws and regulations that are being violated constantly when these actions are being performed. To be honest, another big problem is that these cases, whenever we mention them or we report about them, they are rarely, if ever, investigated in depth, which is also kind of frustrating and all that. Sorry.
I want to talk about that in a little bit. After we talk about the recent report, I want to talk about how Greek authorities actually deal with these issues in terms of investigating the evidences that majority.
Sorry.
You okay?
Yeah.
Good. In these things, so I'll keep that to a little extent, but of course, recently the pushbacks have, especially on the Avros River, leaving people on islets. You've been tweeting and reporting also extensively about the incidents in Avros in general over the last years, where people are left to literally die by the Greek authorities. And so it has very serious life and death consequences that it seems like nobody.
Look, I mean, I think the best way to describe Evros is like a black hole, right? So it's a place where light can't go in. It just sort of disappears. There is zero judicial oversight. Not even the biggest kind of organizations like UNHCR have any ability to visit the sites and see what the hell is going on. Lawyers cannot go there. Journalists, for sure. We were there the other day. We were apprehended by the police within minutes. So it's an area where I would call it, like, I don't know if I know you are addressing a much younger audience probably, but if they read Lucky Luke, I mean, it's like this. It reminds me of this west of Pecos law, this is some sort of region where I don't know, law ceases to exist as it does in other parts of the country and the European Union. So what I would really like, one of the things I would really like to say in this program is that every single day there are people who are risking their lives trying to make it to the European Union, to Greece. There are many people who lose their lives by doing that. I get videos, some of them I have verified, photographs of people, of missing persons, of drowned bodies being dragged up from the river, of medical reports that show this. So I'm not entirely sure that the Greek public or the European public know about this, know that this is happening, and if it's okay with them. I mean, but at the very least, they should know this is happening. That this is not some sort of I don't know, like hybrid. How do they call it? Hybrid threat of tens of thousands of migrants trying to violently break Greek borders. It is people that often include women and children who try to cross this river and they end up dead. You know, I think that's very important to do, and it's very important to educate the public about what is happening. And I think this is one of our main, at least my main concerns. Because if you ask people, there was a very interesting poll, if I may, please. There was a very interesting poll published last week. So people were asked, so are you in favor of pushbacks, even if it means that people's lives are at risk? And there was
literally, I was. This is part of the things I want to discuss at the end, but we have to say it here. But did they specifically ask as pushbacks?
Yeah. So it meant, okay, I don't have it in front of me, but it said, do you agree that Greece should prevent the entry of migrants and refugees in the country, even if this, by any means, even if it means putting lives at risk, right? So you had a very healthy, close to 66 to 70% of people saying no. You know, they disagree that that human lives are less important than preventing irregular migration.
More important than
that it's more important to protect lives than stopping them from coming. The thing is that Greeks or many Greeks don't realize that there is no such thing as a safe pushback. It's I mean, anyone who says this clearly hasn't been to the Aegean, hasn't been to a boat. I was once with a TV crew in Samos. Yeah. You know, I was there with a TV crew once. There was this unsinkable boat worth hundreds of thousands of euros. We were wearing all those stuff that you cannot drown even if they put you in the middle of the Atlantic and ask you to die for the Titanic or whatever. And when the weather changed very suddenly, because people think the Aegean, we go there every year for vacation, we swim, it's super nice, etc. But it's not that. It's a very capricious, a very dangerous sea, you know. And then the captain said, when the weather changed, he said, "Hey guys, we need to go back." You know, I said, like, didn't you say it's unsinkable or something? And he said, "Yeah, still for safety reasons, let's go back." So in this case, in the Aegean, you see like 20 people on the same rickety boat and whatever. So I really don't know if I was with my family, with my children. Most people don't know how to swim. If like I would feel super comfortable about being in that situation in the middle of the night and say, it's just border protection, no problem.
Yeah. No, I mean, to add on to that is one of the things that I want to mention for our audiences. Lucky Luke is red kit in Turkish, so that's how they would remember
sorry.
Of the assist.
Right.
No, it's the Lucky Luke is the English name.
Yeah.
So, but also, you know that Franziska Grillmeyer, journalist, and I went to Avros area in February, and we applied.
Right.
We applied for visit to the border region. We did the whole official process, and the reply we received from the Greek authorities was, you cannot do reporting in Avros region. So what does that mean? Like the whole region. So we cannot go to the tavernas and write also about the good food in Alexandropoli, or in, one of the villages in Sufli, So in that sense, the black holeness, the media freedom is you being apprehended, majority of the researchers being constantly, checked on the, like there are checkpoints, type of spaces on the highways, asking a complete ban on reporting whatsoever on anything. That it didn't even say reporting on migration, it said reporting. What, so like there's this kind of
right. And I see. I see what you mean. To be honest, I never faced this kind of blanket refusal for reporting. I don't know if it helps that I'm Greek, or I don't know if anything else. But for sure, listen. I want to be fair and honest about this. You know, Evros is a militarized region. It's a police region. Greece and Turkey are not in the best of terms. There's the talk of war all the time, etc. So I do understand. I served in Evros as a reserve officer for like more than a year. So I know that this is not your Germany Austria kind of border. So I do understand there must be some sort of security measures that no one can just go wherever they want, do whatever they want, and whatever. Yeah, so fine. But the problem is that usually there's no way to get any kind of license to visit the spots. Even if you do get a license, you are very heavily surveilled, so you can't do any actual reporting. It's more like how they do it in North Korea, where they follow the journalists, and you have to see what you have to see, and whatever. Um, uh, so I really think that Evros could need more scrutiny, and more like showing to the European public, guys, this is our land border with Turkey. We need to know what the hell is going on, and if it's human rights violations, then the EU Commission and Frontex and our taxpayers' money in the EU should probably, you know, have some caveats as to where they're going, and they're not going into people suffering. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's get to your recent reporting.
Right.
Um, that was, I think, published on 28th of June, quite
Right.
recent. And so the kind of the running title that I remember is the Greek police are using migrant slaves to conduct
Mhm.
illegal pushbacks of other asylum seekers over Evros to Turkey. So
Mhm.
can you please tell us what the report findings are
Right.
and what is the story behind the report?
Right. So in a nutshell, what our international media team discovered over a period of many months, it was one of our most painstaking investigations and very hard ones to really feel comfortable about our findings, is that especially since the events of March 2020, when Erdogan opened the border, the Greek police and the Greek authorities found a new way to make it safer to conduct the pushbacks. Well, what do I mean safer? That when they put people on the boats and they send them back to Turkey, because of the frequent skirmishes between the countries, which often include like exchange of fire and other incidents. Two Greek soldiers were arrested by the Turks, and they had like an ordeal. So what they found was why don't we give this task to migrants themselves? We approach them when we arrest them. We tell them, you look, you look, strong enough, and you speak some English. Would you like to work for us? And then they ask what kind of the deal this is, and they say, look, you're gonna stay here for 3 months. You're gonna do the pushbacks for us, and after the 3 months are over, then instead of us kicking you back to Turkey, we give you this temporary residence paper where you can go everywhere, almost everywhere in Greece, and then you can arrange your way out of it. So I think we have established this beyond any doubt that this is happening in at least three police stations, three major police stations in the Evros region. We have collected photo evidence. It was the first time ever, because the Human Rights Watch published a report about it, but it was all based on secondary interviews with people who were pushed back, and the pushbackers were Arab speakers. So we actually located those Arab speakers in different all over Europe. They gave us very detailed testimonies about the job, about where they lived, about their living conditions. They gave us photographs, they gave us videos. We also had we also had police sources, very credible police sources, who confirmed the practice. And I think this is one of the reasons why the Greek government, for the first time in all our reporting, has not issued a single word of rebuttal, even in the vague terms of like, this is I don't know, Greece always respects the law, blah blah blah, this is Turkish propaganda, and whatever. I think this is especially how do you say, the slave trade essentially is like is especially heinous. I don't want to be honest, I don't want to lionize those people doing it. I want to
Yeah,
be
but I
honest with
want to
you.
understand
Yeah,
why you specifically define it as slave, because
yeah,
I think for those who haven't read the report, I think it's really better
yeah.
explained how these
All right,
people are treated within those 3 weeks and what they
all
are
right,
forced to do
right,
to the pushbacks.
right. Okay. So the slavery part, which you're the lawyer, but anyway,
No, I'm not a lawyer.
you're the, I mean, you're more, perhaps you're more familiar with this, but I mean, our lawyer said it's okay to use, is because these people are confined in the police cells, where they are held, right? They receive no pay. They are fed with scraps of what they gather from other refugees that are being arrested. They have a slave master, who is the go-between between the Hellenic police and them. They are not allowed to exit the police station and go, for example, for a walk or go to the village or whatever. And they have this deal: you do this job, we do this for you. So in our view, this constitutes a sort of slavery where unpaid labor is doing the dirty work of what the officials are refusing to do. I don't think a word this could describe it any better than that.
Yeah. The things that they were forced to do at the borders is also unbelievable in many. I mean, I don't know if it's even unbelievable for me when it's a coast guard or a national guard or a border control. It's the amount of violence is always really difficult for me to comprehend, but the fact that they are forcing these to be conducted by the refugees is
Hmm.
also really, because these people, in my opinion, are already escaping war and violence. They've already crossed multiple borders to arrive at the Greek borders before they were imprisoned or enslaved by the Greek authorities or the Greek forces.
Hmm.
And they are actually forced to use violence on other fellow asylum seekers, which I don't even understand. I'm not a psychologist, but the multiple levels of post traumatic effects of these things and how they will be able to, in the future, wherever they are, continue
Yes.
their lives is I mean, for the people who receive the violence is one thing, but also for people who are already victims of abuse and violence and been on the road for years to
Yes.
do this. Because many years ago I was in a simulation, not
Hmm.
surprisingly organized by UNHCR,
Hmm.
and we did this simulation where people were it was like a kind of simulation of a border practice, and there were some refugees and asylum seekers who were requested to who were playing the role of the police.
Mm.
Even in a simulation, it
Hmm.
was really difficult and challenging for them.
Mm. Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I'm
Sorry. Go on.
go on, go on, go on.
No, I, 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 I totally agree with you. It's, I mean, I mean, many of the guys that we interviewed are feeling really, really, really bad about it, and this is like one of the reasons that they came out. This is one of the reasons that this is how they think they can make amends for what they did, and maybe help eradicate the system. On the other hand, I have to say that we have met, and especially our investigators from Lighthouse reports. I didn't mention the partners, did I? I mean, it was Lighthouse reports organizing it. So it was the Spiegel from Germany. It was ARD, the public broadcaster, Report München from Germany. It was Le Monde from France. It was Guardian from the UK. And it was the Swiss public television that we all worked together. So the investigators from Lighthouse reports, who did most of the work identifying them and finding them and convincing them to talk to us, one of the main reasons was, we need to get, we really need to make amends with what we have done, because there's also many people who are offered this job and they just refuse. It depends also how desperate you are. Some of the people we talked to had tried like multiple times, 10, 12, 20 times to cross, and they were kind of like desperate. In my view, like a Greek journalist earning a respectable salary, living in the safety of my home with my children and all that, I don't presume to understand what's going through their minds. But yeah, this is a very upsetting practice, especially if employed by the law enforcement officers that are supposed to uphold the laws in a European Union country, and there needs to be some ramifications on this practice.
Yeah, and especially if they are threatened by imprisonment and forced, not just being pushed back, but threatened by lifetime imprisonment.
Yeah.
Well, I also want to ask about investigative journalism. This is what you're doing, and investigative journalism is also changing, because, as you just said initially, access to these areas is almost impossible to do the old school research that journalists or us researchers did. We've seen this at the Polish Belarusian borders, in many other instances, but very often nowadays there is new tools of conducting research where we do not have the physical immediate access, so creating new methodologies to report human rights violation, with, of course, new recent available technologies of remote research, including digital and forensic. So can you also, I mean, this is, I think, mainly done by Lighthouse, but you've been working also with them for a while. So could you comment on how these new tools and methodologies of reporting are utilized, and how they are actually enabling you to create evidence? Because in amnesty reporting, for example, at the Polish-Belarusian borders, these digital, photographic and remote imaging allowed us to provide it as evidence that there is a pushback at the Polish-Belarusian borders. And these similar tools are utilized by the reporting that you collaborate with the Lighthouse.
Right. So yes, I think this collaborative journalism trend is one of the best things that has happened to journalism in some years. We have worked with Lighthouse a lot. We have also worked with Bellingcat. We have also worked with Forensic Architecture. And these collaborative newsrooms that include people from different outlets like print, online, TV, radio, OSINT analysts, that's open source investigators and all that, bringing all of them brought together in the same, let's say, newsroom, and everyone offering their expertise in a way. So someone might be better at I don't know, like analyzing photos and satellite images. Another one might be very well sourced in whatever issue is being covered. we still do some kind of traditional journalism, like going door to door and speaking to people. This is not dead by any stretch of the word. It's also very good for dividing resources. So some people are more, active in Turkey or in other or in Greece or in other places in the Balkans or elsewhere in Europe or the world. So when this goes well, and in my experience, it almost always is. This is like the best the best thing that would happen to journalism. I'm very proud to be part of this project. There's some brilliant people there. It's also something that uh, also helps avoid the echo chamber, right? So when there's like 20 journalists and 30 people on the same call working together, there's going to be different views, different ideas, different takes, different sources, etc., and we can all work together and produce something that we can be at least half proud of. And finally, it also, of course, magnifies the impact of the investigation, because it's different if it's just I don't know, the Tide or the Spiegel or the Guardian or the New York Times or whoever, and it's different if it's like a consortium of journalists who have their internal processes of verification, of fact checking, because people should know that we never publish anything that is just, Begüm told the Giorgos, and Giorgos is just writing it, and then we say, "Oh, this is the news, guys. Just read it." This goes through a very painstaking process, a very anxious process, and we are almost always very sure that what we're doing is very well founded, and this is why it's never ever been refuted in any substantial way.
Yeah. And I'm also really amazed by this open source data and the digital imaging, and also it's not just in, this is a comment, not a question, I guess, but I'm also amazed by the fact that this is not just anymore a mere collaboration among journalists or experts in forensic architecture or digital imaging. It's also collaboration with the refugees, because you talk to the refugees are actually producing majority of the evidence if they are able to preserve their phones or their items. They are the also ones who are sending locations, sending photographs and videos, which
Exactly.
enable you to verify these
Exactly.
things. Like I remember the Lighthouse reporting in Bosnia border. It was quite a lot of their own, physical presence and putting cameras on, getting out on a stakeout for like days and nights to
Right.
be able to encounter the forces. But at the Greek-Turkish border, certain areas are, as you note, as such a black spot that it is only through the awareness of refugees trying to. I mean, this is also maybe sound romantic, but in a sense, they are trying to.
It is not. For example, I was in contact. I don't know if you have how much time we have left,
Yeah,
but I
yeah,
think
yeah,
that's
yeah. Go on, please say.
I think that's an incident worth mentioning. So there was this large group of Syrians. You definitely have heard about it. Stuck on this Greek islet in Avros, right? So these people would contact human rights lawyers, me as well, and say, "Hey guys, we're here. Where's the police coming to pick us?" Right? So at one point, the police told me, we can't find them or whatever. So I called this guy and said, "Listen, I want you to do a video call with me, right? Just go around the little islet that you're here, show the people, show where you are." And I even screenshot like the call where it's my face on it, like his face on it, like everybody's is visible. It's so easy to see where they are, right? No one came to rescue them until 3 or 4 hours later. Some
And
commandos
they
came.
kept saying, I think we can't find them, right? Although it was very
Yes,
clearly.
every day that was like for days we can find them, and I was like, "What do you mean? I mean, we have given you the geolocation videos. Here's another video. It's me on them. He's just filming it. I mean, right now, this is it. How hard is it to actually locate where they are?" So in the early hours of that night, I got a text message from one of the guys who said, we're seeing commandos coming our way. I said, okay, please hand them over my phone and tell them if you want me to translate into Greek, and tell them that you need protection and all that. And then the last thing I overheard while he had his phone in his pocket was like, telephone, give telephone. And then the line dropped 1.5 minutes later. And then these same guys magically found themselves back in Turkey, and they're now, as far as I know, they're back in Istanbul. So of course, refugees and their data and their video are very important. They never ever get published as they are. We have these great people, much more knowledgeable than the boomers that some of us are, like how to ascertain that what they say is correct, that where they say they are is correct, and all that. So I think it's very, very hard to deny the practice or what is happening there.
Yeah. And in that exact point of denying, Greek authorities have over and over denied all the allegations. I mean, they didn't, I think, as you said, comment on the most recent one, but the majority of the pushback reports that you have been involved and others have done over the last years, Greek authorities are even doing a investigation by themselves without any independent authority system, and saying, oh, we decided there is no pushbacks. So what is so I guess this is the response of the Greek authorities, denying or saying that we have the right to protect our borders and this is protecting our borders, but they don't, this is where they leave from what I've seen. But also, like recently, EU authorities are also aware of this reporting, especially these last years, the Lighthouse report, the Der Spiegel report that you all collaborate with Bellingcat, has really received attention from certain EU parliamentarians. And they have repeatedly questioned the Greek authorities to give evidence against this, or to take action against the pushbacks, to stop the pushbacks. Just recently, one of the EU parliamentarians actually spoke to Mitsotakis at the EU Parliament. So can you also maybe briefly summarize how your work has an impact at authorities levels? I think because in the recent days, maybe with activism, we're having trouble. We're not able to be actually on the ground to receive the arrivals. In Lesbos, there is a change but I think the reporting you do now has replaced a significant lack of activism that is really important, and it's evidence-based, it's proper reporting, and so it has impact.
Yes, I don't want to minimize the impact of our reporting in any way, not just for self-serving reasons, but we have seen some real steps being taken. You have noticed Frontex, for example. There was a resignation of the head of the agency. There's been an Olaf investigation into it. There have been changing protocols on how to protect human rights. There's been much more emphasis on fundamental rights and deploying them across the EU borders. There's been much more, even the Greek police have in mind, that we're not just acting in some kind of void that people might, that whatever bad is happening might come out, right? So this is on the plus side. I think even incrementally there has been progress towards that respect. For me, what is the most worrying part is that Greece is an EU state. It's a state of law. It has judicial authorities. It has prosecutors. It has ombudsman, and it has lots of checks and balances kind of systems. And so far, at least, there's been very little to show for it, so I would expect that following a publication of many major European media, there would be immediately some sort of prosecutor, like involvement, or asking people what the hell is going on at this border, right? Prosecutors have intervened in much less important issues, like, I don't know, the price of octopus in Mykonos or whatever. So I think that this merits some sort of independent judicial investigation by the authorities, which I think will be forthcoming. I know there are judges, even at the highest levels, who are interested in this, who do realize that this is like a matter of respect, a matter of protecting our image as a European country. And of course, that the litmus test is not how Turkey treats refugees, or how the Turkish justice system kind of works, or whatever, that Greece is Europe, is in the European Union. Greece has always insisted it is following international law. We have a prime minister who is a self-declared liberal. So one would expect like a real, actual change of policy and investigation into those criminals.
But I want to ask, in this sense, like, I want to be a little bit of devil's advocate, or a more kind of pushy on this, because investigations are happening everywhere, right? The EU, I mean, there is, in my sense, there is some kind of also a deal. EU Commissioner Ylva Johansson says we cannot accept pushbacks. Yes, we cannot accept pushbacks, but you do not have the authority to actually ensure that Greece obliges with the rule of law. So if under these circumstances, investigations can go on, and they can say, even the European Court of Human Rights might decide. I mean, I think we have a good decision also on pharmaconicity recently, right?
Right, exactly.
But these decisions come, but authorities in Hungary, in Poland, in Greece, in Spain, at what happened in Melilla recently, this is ongoing at the external borders, because the EU is not ready to open the borders. I'm not going to say they should open the borders. This is a whole different debate. But I think stopping the pushbacks would significantly impact the number of arrivals, especially at Turkey-Greece borders, unless there is a better arrangement of unless there's a better management of migration in general for the European Union, in collaboration with Turkey, Morocco, Libya, that protects human lives to begin with. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir at the moment. I'm aware of this, and I really believe in the impact of your work, but I'm also not satisfied by investigations. Like, what kind of research, as you've been on the road and doing this, will take actually to oblige Greek authorities to stop these unacceptable operations at the borderlands?
Right. So the thing is, in Europe, as you very well know, there are various factions, in the European Parliament as well, in the Commission itself as well. There's like conflicting points of view and stuff like that. So the EU has always been, I studied like the EU since the late 1990s. It's always been this kind of compromise and like, muddling through kind of institution. But I wouldn't be so dismissive of the EU, because they may not have like investigative powers, but they still have the power of the purse. So in my view, what the EU could do to actually push things towards the right direction is actually raise the specter of cutting funding, border funding to Greece, which might not be so much the monetary aspect of it, but more of the symbolic kind of aspect of it, because Greece keeps insisting that we are a law-abiding international law kind of nation, right? So this would make a huge deal. I do think it's time for the EU and its agencies and to like stop how to say stop stop depending everything on our reports. You know, it's we're not investigators, we're not judges, we don't have any power. You know, we're just trying to do our job, and we do think that up to a point we can do this, but then there should be institutions taking over. We're not seeing this to the extent that we would have liked, but I would also not like to minimize what has already happened. I mean, if you compare how the state of things was like a couple of years ago, even to now, I think we did, or at least I like to think. I mean, if you know, people like to give meaning to their lives. So I think I think we have done our smaller or bigger bit in pushing things into a more humane direction.
And in the final end, I want to ask, now I'm in Lesbos, and so this is a little bit of a personal inquiry for me as well. I'm here to talk to locals, meet people of Lesbos about their experiences since 2015, about the impact of migration policies on the lives of local populations. So that said, when we first started, you've mentioned that Greek public was asked, like, are you okay with pushbacks but at all costs, right? And I was actually recently in a conversation with someone from Turkey. As you know, in Turkey, that there is a growing consensus among the public that argues that all Syrians, particularly, but all migrants and refugees, should be sent back to their home countries. Syrians should be returned back to Syria. And this is a very significant issue for another program, maybe. But I was in this conversation saying, like, I mean, people do not listen to non-refoulement, right? Like the rule of law, none of these things actually matter to public anymore. You know, violation of the international law, do you think we should violate it? And they say our rights are violated in this case, for example. So I asked them, like, do you want us to kill each other? Like, do you want people to die? And when you come to that spot, they just pause. No, we don't want anyone to die.
This
So
this is such a clever observation that you're making, because the debate usually is like, do you want more migration or not? Well, I mean, your knee-jerk response to that is no, we're fine, you know, or we don't want any more people coming. The Germans already got the good ones working at BMW and Mercedes and stuff like that. We're stuck with those people who have nothing to do. They'll just get drunk and rape us. So I mean, unfortunately, this is like the mentality. But it never ceases to amaze me that Greece has been experiencing this crisis for like or close to a decade now, and people are still not aware what it means to control your borders, or how they are being controlled, or what is at stake. Of course, this is not helped either by the Greek media, which there is like almost a total consensus on how these issues are covered. They're all hidden behind this Greek Turkish geopolitical problem. So it's exactly what you said. So if you just talk to people in general, hey, is it okay to stop people from coming, migrants from coming? They will say, yeah. But then, because these are people, these are nice people. These are people who helped other people just a few years ago. You know, I don't think there's any person in the right mind who would just say, yeah, lives be damned, let's stop them. And I think it's very important to raise awareness and let those people know that this is exactly what is going to happen when you keep on pursuing this kind of policy.
yeah, I mean, that's very important. I think we as human rights advocates and human rights defenders, researchers, journalists. I think it's now important to work on the rule of law and our commitments to law. That's an ongoing work that we will do. But also, I think at this point, without agitation, because nobody anymore wants to see shipwrecks. Not, I mean,
Right.
this is true. I mean, I can't. People, the more every day this is happening, and people more as it happens, more people are turning a blind eye to it more. In general, in Europe,
Yeah.
imagine how Lampedusa was in 2013-12, and
Mhm.
now, you know, with ongoing shipwrecks every day in the Mediterranean, it's not even on the media anymore,
Of
right? So,
exactly.
so in that case, I think we need to continue producing work without agitation, without, you know, forcing people to their, you know, consciousness, but to, you know, recreate a new vocabulary to protect lives.
Exactly. And if I make a last point, I see our time is
Please, yes,
nearly up.
yes.
I would just like to raise the EU's responsibility in this, because I get a lot of comments that, you know, Greece cannot do this alone. And of course, I mean, nobody in their right mind believes that Greece is a country that should uh, shoulder all this alone. You know, for such a long time, there has been an effort to find a new viable, humane system, asylum system in Europe, and this is going nowhere, at least at this point. So of course, it's not like either Greece takes everyone in, and then suddenly we have a billion people from Africa and Asia in the country, or we kill them at mid-sea. This is a false dilemma that people need to sort of understand. This is not what we're talking about here.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And since we don't have any more time left,
Yeah.
I'll maybe get a promise from you that you'll join me again sometime soon.
Any anytime, but I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Thank you. And I want to also underline, I know your work for many years now. I've been following your work for many years now. I know how committed you are into understanding what's the best solution to protect everyone's lives that are
Right.
involved in our own environments and also the people on the move. So thank you very much for all the work you do and your colleagues.
Yes.
And I'll see you soon in Lesbos.
Yes, hopefully so. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Begüm.
And thank you for watching us. Have a good Sunday and see you soon. Ciao.